and then so I'll let you get started. Is that okay?
Yes, yes. Lovely to be here. So some of you know me, and some of you don't. So my name is Sue Taylor. And I've been on my spiritual journey for probably about 12 years now, probably about the same time I met Christine, funnily enough. Um, it kind of like started really when I was trying to sort of like find understandings of the troubles that my daughter was going through, my youngest daughter. And her troubles sort of started at 2012, actually December 2012. So kind of, kind of with sort of the energies around then. I didn't understand that at all at the time. So, so then I've started to learn various things. I've started with NLP, hypnotherapy, and I've kind of really been on my journey, sort of glued to one course after another. Kind of done lots of other things. Body talk was absolutely amazing. I've actually done a talk on that, and quite a few years ago. And that kind of like is an intuitive thing. So that kind of like started me kind of like connecting to more of what I am aware of now. So yeah, visualizing what's above and around us, and that sort of thing. So here we are. Basically, I'm sharing the latest one that well, not really the latest, because the latest is Divine Healing, which is absolutely fabulous as well. But Rahani, I started that in 2019 as a practitioner. So I was introduced to that to begin with, having a session as a client. And for me, I'm not very, as I believe myself to be, not really sort of, I thought, intuitive and actually being able to see things and kind of like clairvoyant, clairsentience or anything. I couldn't really sort of see too much. I was very much in my left brain, coming from the accountancy practice and doing that for years. That's what I was doing in numbers and kind of how much tax to pay and all this thing. I mean, I did talk to my clients, and they found me good to listen to, for me to listen to them. So there was something I knew that I was different than most accountants. And so now I'm kind of like on an area, on a sort of trajectory now of healing. And yeah, I'm still on my journey. I then sort of have kind of like balanced myself now sort of to the right side of my brain, which actually is to do with all your intuition, to tapping into the what you really, the sort of the inner knowing. So yeah, so I've come from like many people who are perhaps out there not really being able to sort of like see things in a different way. So I'm just going to go on now to just really introducing Rahani. So Rahani Celestial Healing. So what the name suggests, it's from the celestial realms. So this is kind of like above us, heavenly realms. I wouldn't have known what that was at all in the past. And what really it is, it's there are energies sort of that kind of like are in a different level to us. For example, when a dog will hear certain sounds, you can't hear them. It doesn't mean they're not there, but you just can't hear them. And likewise, they sense, dogs and lots of animals sense energy. And so again, that's something that we're able to do, but we have to develop that, and that's what I've been doing and still doing. So some people are able to kind of just tap in straight into kind of like having visual sort of things, and I'm beginning to do that, and that's great. So just an introduction to Rahani then. So the energies were gifted to a lady called Carol Stacey Now, thousands of years ago, apparently, she agreed at a soul level to come at this time of humanity's situation, and bring something that was not available to people, sort of years ago. Nowadays, now we're raising in consciousness, and if anybody doesn't know what I mean by that, please say. Put your hands up and I can explain a bit about level of consciousness, sort of like. But am I okay for going on with about that? So effectively, yeah, please, anytime if you need to sort of like ask a question halfway through, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Please just intervene. So we, as humanity, weren't high enough to actually receive these energies long ago, and so now the earth is shifting. We're all shifting. We're getting sort of more sort of lighter, and we're going into the fifth dimension. So we're in 2012. It started. We were in the third dimension. We're shifting into we've shifted into the fourth, and we go in between the fourth and the fifth now. And really what the fifth enables us to do is to have higher perceptions. So higher perceptions, so not just the see, hear, taste, touch, and whatever the other one is. I can't think of offhand second. But then also things like, as I was saying earlier, sentience, actually sort of like a knowing. I mean, a lot of people do have that ability, but they don't really realize that that's kind of like an extra perception that they have, and they can develop even further. So there's sentience, which is like an actual knowing. There's clairvoyance. You can start to see things, see colors, see auras. It just doesn't have to be, sort of like well, that's what it is. It's actually seeing things, and often it's seeing in your head. Sort of like if you visualize. Say you think about your front door, and then what color it is, and where the doorknob is, and where you're going to put the key in. You can visualize that. So that means you can see things, and you visualize somebody's face. Oh, what do they look like? Oh yeah, I can see it in my mind's eye. So that's clairvoyance, clairaudience. Again, probably through your mind, like when you think, well, when you think it's a thought, is it a thought, or is it something that's being sort of told to you? Are you hearing something rather than it's you? So all these things are your actually abilities. So let me just go to my notes in order to have a drink of water for a second. Okay, so the way, so Rahani is developed for the fifth dimension, and it's coming at this time to help humanity release all forms of, release all judgment, jealousy, hate, anger, and kind of all negative feelings. If you hold that in your heart, then there's not much that you can give from that, and so therefore you then this modality is coming here so that you can then open to truth, love, and compassion. So truth of who you really are, sort of like what your abilities, or everyone's abilities. We're so much more than we're led to believe. We're not just a physical, sort of physical being. We have the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and so kind of like that's all part of our being. And if you think about that's what our aura is. It's kind of like different levels you know, so we've got our mental body, our, you know, and our emotional body. So if we have emotions, sometimes they're here in our aura, but then sometimes they get further into our physical body, and then can, I mean, we get emotions going through our body, but sometimes they get stuck. So with maybe a trauma, they'll get stuck, and they'll get stuck in a particular area of our body, which then can cause, as you probably know, I'm going to say, is dis-ease. So they aren't able to vibrate and, you know, sort of move around. Your cells aren't able to move around freely, and then there's come some sort of like blockage then that happens within your body. So this is to do with kind of clearing a lot of things within each of your bodies, and I'll call that all different bodies, you know, as I was saying earlier. Okay, so it's heart-centered. So as a practitioner, what you do is you're bringing in a pink ray of light. You're concentrating, and it's all about visualization. You visualize a pink ray of light, and so therefore, you know, that's, you know, what you do is you connect. First of all, you connect you ground, and again, there are ways of doing that, and, you know, so perhaps most of you know how to ground yourself and visualize. All about visualization through your energy centers, and they're called chakras. So first of all, there was 7. There was, like, you know, your base and your sacral, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your third eye, and your crown. Now, all these areas are basically energy centers, and if you can sort of think about kind of a vibration sort of happening through there, and this is like, so generally, if you're well, your centers, your chakras are vibrating easily, and therefore there, you know, there's no blockages, and there are no blockages. Nowadays, as we are increasing in consciousness, there's been some new ones, which is the 5D chakras, which are kind of like intermittent in between those, really, and also up above and a little bit further down below. So what you do is you connect to and below yourself, to a star, and there are 12 and possibly 15. Sometimes you know, like, lots of different people are bringing in different ones as we evolve, but the ones that I use are ones that kind of like mix and merge. So it's not just and there are colors. So, like, for example, the sacral chakra is kind of like a pink, you know, a pink area, and that is all to do with creativity. And so what happens then with the new ones, they kind of like mix and merge with, they say, like with your solar plexus and your navel, and they come as a golden light with around you. So you're visualizing these colors that actually have a profound effect on you, really kind of like open up your perceptions, particularly in meditation. So sometimes in meditation you might be guided to ground yourself, bring yourself up to different all the way through your chakras, and it's almost like a big light that comes through, and so there you're able to connect to the sort of like a moon we have there, and we bit further up. This is after the crown, and there's the soul star, which where you connect to your ancestors, you know, different sort of souls, and, you know, or even part of the other part of the soul of your own soul that's been left behind. Because sometimes, well, what happens is when you come into the physical, not all your soul comes into the physical. So you've then got your higher self up there, kind of like, you know, kind of there, transfer, kind of knowing all, which is why a lot of people say, you know, ask your inner strength, you know, ask for your inner strength, ask for the inner knowledge, and then you can connect via meditation. After a while, it becomes kind of second nature to do that. And with NLP, I learned how to connect in a quick way, and that's called an anchor. So again, if anybody wants me to explain what an anchor and how that can help you do things, you know, sort of connect quickly, I can do that. But you know, so here we go. So that's really the chakras, and that's kind of how one connects if you are becoming a practitioner. But really, how does a session look like for the person coming for a session? I shall tell you in a moment. Okay, so it's a really beautiful energy, I must say, that vibrates on the pink ray of light, as I was saying, and it corresponds to the heart, from the practitioner's heart, and then to forms like directly to the recipient, sort of like. So what we do is kind of and pink ray of light comes from the energies of Kuan Yin. And so what you do in this modality, you learn the attributes of a lot of archangels and angels. So you're bringing down the essence of them, the energies, for them to you know, use their attributes. So for example, with Kuan Yin, she's for kind of like she's very feminine, a feminine energy, and she will help with the family unit, and particularly children. So she brings love through, and you often, if you get that as a recipient, you sometimes feel kind of tingly. Sometimes you see the colors, and effectively you're lying on the treatment bed and you know, relaxing, and you just sort of feel, you know, you could feel sort of tingles, you know, and just a kind of a light kind of like sense throughout your body. But the attribute really is to kind of like, you know, it's kind of to heal, you know, the sort of things that aren't, you know, within the family unit, for example, and to children, helping them to balance to feminine and masculine energies. If we were to do a session with a child, for example, obviously having permission from the parent, it's really good for children, because it's one of the big reasons it's used now, is to kind of like help the child balance the masculine and feminine, and so therefore particularly the feminine, to balance that, so that there's more connection to to truth, love and compassion. And you'll find that they're more compassion to you know, other beings, other, you know, like animals, and you'll find them more. And so therefore that would lead on to a society of, you know, truth, love and compassion, and passionate people, where, you know, there's no need for wars and etc. There's, you know, there's a way of living. So it's almost like so yeah, if you connect with the children, that's really good. But so going back to your own session, some people will feel it and see the colors, and other people will just have a lovely relaxing time. And for me, to begin with, when I used to have my sessions, I just used to just, you know, yeah, I used to just be, it just used to feel lovely. I didn't see any colors, didn't sort of feel particularly anything specific. But as I, you know, as later on, and especially as now I've been attuned fully, I kind of like do, you know, actually, as I've been speaking a little bit, I've been getting, especially when I spoke about Kuan Yin, I get a whole glow all over my body. It's so lovely. And so that's what you kind of get. So they're, you know that they're with you and helping. So different attributes. My Archangel Michael helps with strength, gives you power, gives you sort of like empowers you. But you effectively, so what I can do as a practitioner, or if you became a practitioner, you could then you know, work with the client to bring protection, put a net over, can't think of the word now, this you know, sometimes a platinum net over the and again, it's visualization. That is the absolute key, is you're visualizing then a platinum net over yourself and over your house to protect your house and windows. So the platinum net only lets in positive energy and keeps out the negative. So you're asking then for protection, and maybe when you're going in the car, ask for protection from Archangel Michael. So you get to know, you know, when when you learn this. But again, back to the practitioner. Sorry, back to the recipient. The process, really, to begin with, especially if somebody hasn't sort of like said anything they're coming for, but if they're just sort of saying, well, I'm just coming to experience, what you would do is you'd bring in the energies from Lord Melchizedek. So I'm sorry, I'm putting these names out there. Some of you may have heard of them, others not. But that's the masculine and feminine, the masculine energy. We put that down the right side of the body, and then you know, visualize the light, a pure white healing light, and then on the left, then the feminine energy, so of Kuan Yin, where we sort of visualize the pink light going down the left side. Okay, so that's the beginning, and then we'll go to the head, and we'll ask Archangel Uriel's energy to come through for peace and tranquility. So again, you know, you can just imagine. So we ourselves, we imagine peace and tranquility as well, and ask for help from Archangel Uriel. So that then person kind of integrates that goes into that body, into your body, and then particular colors mean different things. Okay, so the different colors vibrate on a different level, doing different things. If the recipient will come and has issues and say that they have a relationship issue, then we'll call on Archangel Chamuel and the energies of him, and then it's a lot of it is to heal. It's the heal within themselves. Often when you're having trouble with a relationship is you've got old wounds, you know, kind of old wounds from this life, previous lives, you know, whatever you know, whatever kind of makes you feel like that. Sometimes you're triggered, sometimes in relationships you're triggered by somebody's behavior, and another person wouldn't be triggered by that behavior. And so what that really means is that somewhere deep in you've got a wound that, you know, can be healed effectively. And so that's a reason. And then once you've had that clearing, so to speak, that block has been cleared, you'll see it in a different light. So it's kind of like, it's not even about you know, it's healing you, and it's, some people will sort of say, well, it's not my fault that you know, somebody's doing this or whatever, but your perception of it will change, and therefore if you change, the other person will feel it, and you change, that they change too, and so therefore that's how a relationship can be cleared, helped. Okay, so yes, and I've sort of said about the attributes of Archangel Uriel, and Archangel Michael. Archangel Zadkiel, he's where he has what we call the violet flame, and that is literally, we visualize a violet flame transmuting all negativity, so within the body. So, you know, anything that's held, you know, I was saying earlier that you know, emotions can be stuck into the body. Well, visualizing it burning away with a lovely violet flame, you know, we sort of like see that moving and going, which actually leaves a void. And so therefore what we then do, once that's done, we visualize the healing, a golden healing light that goes in those spaces within your body. And, you know, and again, that's kind of a way of feeling a lot better and clearing. I mean, you're cleared, and so you're not kind of like, well, you haven't got a void. You've got this lovely feeling inside, sort of thing, you know, based on you know, from the golden light. So the golden white light, that will have a different vibration than the pink light, for example, and, you know, various, and you get to know different attributes of all the archangels. And it's not just archangels, it's like Mother Mary. Mother Mary helps clear the heal the inner child. So, you know, everybody's inner child really kind of dictates perhaps how you are as an adult, you know, kind of all the sort of feelings you had to begin with. You know, you may be kind of unsure of yourself. I don't know, all things based on your experience as a child then dictates how you are as an adult. You know, there's you'll find that and I found that through the many years, 12 years I've looked into it, to all this. Yeah, so yeah, it's a long lovely journey that I've been on, and as I said, still on there. Let me see if I've got any more notes to do with how the session feels. No, I think I've covered everything with that. So another thing I'm going to say is how, well, I suppose really where the name comes from, Rahani. So Ra is the Egyptian god, Egyptian sun god, the most powerful to humanity. And Hani is a Hebrew girl's name, which means favored grace. And so if so basically what Rahani's doing is actually getting people back from, I mean, like if I'm going to go the other way now, the fall of grace will be your disconnection to God, source, or whoever, to your, you know, higher self. Maybe it's a disconnection, and so a favored grace, and you know, so to bring you and connect you back up from what's actually been blocked, you know, sort of like in this era of time. Yeah, so that's that. It actually stands for of one heart, meaning that we are all we all vibrate on the same, on the sort of like through our hearts, and through one heart, effectively, of one heart. And so it kind of like energetically we are all of one heart, and so therefore if you hurt someone, you'll hurt yourself, almost, kind of thing. And kind of like knowing that, and even animals and all beings. So you have more compassion. It just happens. You just, you know, you're just getting to remember how things were before you fell from grace, I suppose. It's kind of a falling from grace. In different times, you know, sort of you know, centuries ago it could have happened, you know, and that is, you know, as you then come through to different lifetimes, you take it all with you. You kind of like, you are who you are, and that's like the essence of you. It comes through to each and every one of us. Okay, so that's the name. Carol, she made the agreement thousands of years ago, as I said, and now, because she's cleared a lot of her karma, when she cleared 50% of it, that was when she was connected to and tasked with bringing this to humanity, and that was back in 2004. So it's effectively for this time that we're in now, to help people raise their vibrations into love, effectively, and be more heart-centered. So away from the brain. When you've got a question, ask your heart. What does your heart say? You know, and converse with your heart. I mean, if you think about, excuse me a second. Your heart's developed 16 days after conception, and there's some belief that we grow from our heart, and so our heart is everything, is us, it's our totality, it's kind of and then we come from that, and if we then converse with our heart, that is our truth. So you got the truth, and love, of course, you know, and it's not just, you know, romantic love, it's actually love for all humanity, and all creatures, and, you know, etc. Okay. There are other uses.
Oh,
Sorry,
I was just going to say, did you want to ask if anybody had any questions?
I could do,
Up to
yes.
you. You might not be
Yeah,
ready yet.
I'll be nearly ready for that, but I was just going to sort of
Whatever
say
you
that,
want. Sure.
thank you. So, okay, so there are ways of using Rahani. One is to come for a session. Another is to be a practitioner. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, you know, have clients and, you know, have people coming to you for sessions. What you can do, you can use it to heal yourself. So there's self-healing. And you can do that every day, every night time before we go to bed, and in the mornings, and you bring the certain attributes of all that you've learned from doing the course. So that's the self-healing. You can do distant healing, and you then, I didn't mention actually, but what you do when you connect up to, you know, past the soul star, stellar gateway, and you get to the Rahani 6-pointed star, and then you're visualizing that when you're doing the healing for your client, and so instead of doing that when you're doing distant healing, you actually visualize the 6-pointed star in your mind's eye, or actually even to draw it and write people's names in, people that you want to send healing. And again, then all about visualization, you know, sort of like, because it's going to be not necessarily an individual, you can send it to actually as many people as you like. You can sort of like put one person's name down, or you can put 20 people's name in, and then what you're doing is you're sending the energies, and it's almost like the energies are coming through me, but I don't particularly need to know and ask for you know, particular colors and things like that, not like I do when somebody's with me. I will kind of leave it to, you know, the person. I mean, it might mention the trouble they're having, you know, maybe particular organ in their body that's of trouble and whatever. So there's that knowing, but it's also trusting that these energies will go to the right place and to the right people. So that's distant healing. And then there's also plants and animals. So the plants, I mean, if you've got a kind of bit of like a poorly plant, you can visualize the base of the plant and visualize golden white light or white light, and, you know, for a minute or so. You do that every day, you will notice, and there's, you know, like been some sort of trial where somebody, you know, does that to one plant and not the other, and then sees a, you know, gorgeous difference to the plants. Yeah, effectively it brings life back to them. It's like a yeah, a sort of life force. And as I said, animals love Rahani healing. If you're doing it and you've got let's say I was sort of doing some distant healing and had a say a dog or a cat next to me, I mean, they would stay there for the duration. They would love it. But if you're actually, you know, aiming it at that animal, they'll know it, they'll feel it, really feel it. and they'll probably only need about 10 minutes, and then they tend to sort of like go off and have a little sit down, or under a bush, or whatever, and kind of like continue to absorb the rays of the healing. Okay, so I think that's for the moment. If there's any questions that anybody has really on what I've said so far.
Oh, thank you. So that's really, really fascinating. It's yeah, it's a lot to take in. Although, I mean, I remember I once asked you if it was like Reiki, and you said no, it wasn't. But I
Yeah,
kind of
well, yeah,
understand.
with Reiki, that's more earthbound,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's to do with a lot of symbols and things as well.
yeah,
So it's different, and so because we're talking about the kind of
yeah, moving
the
beyond.
higher realms. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
no, I
comes from the higher.
feel that when you were saying it, that you really are
Mm,
connecting with something quite amazing and bringing it down, aren't you?
yeah, yeah.
And the colours, I love the use of the colours and the,
Mm,
yeah. Does
mm.
anybody else want to ask anything at all?
Excuse me.
Hi,
Cough first.
Linda.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Linda.
Sue. Very interesting, thank you. Obviously, there was some connections, I think, with yoga, with the chakras and things, so I could understand that, and the different bodies, the esoterical bodies. But can you tell me about the anchor? You mentioned it before.
Yes.
Can you explain that, please?
Yes, I can. Well, what an anchor really means, or you can probably understand what one is by sometimes if you listen to a song, and you then it automatic you kind of like have a song that you haven't heard for years, and it brings you back to that time, and that kind of like almost that time has been anchored in your body, so that immediately you go back to how you felt at that time. And so there could be different types of anchors that you can actually do on purpose, sort of like, so with NLP, we would get a person, perhaps if they wanted to be more confident, for example, when they were going to be sort of talking. In fact, I did that because Christina will say to me, when I used to go networking, I used to stand up, and it was only 40 seconds yet to speak, but I would shake. And that's, I don't really remember that, Christine, I don't know, but and my voice would shake, etc. And I met this lady actually who did NLP, and she did an anchor for me. So I mean, the technique perhaps is to get you really into that state. You kind of like get into that state and then think of another way. Sometimes you do that and you kind of like layer it, and you're really, really in that state, and you then kind of apportion that to a part of your body effectively. It could be this, it could be like and it could be, I mean, I did touch my breastplate for feeling and sort of like confident and whatever. So what would happen then, as then I get round doing the normal day-to-day business and whatever, and then I'm thinking, oh, I feel really, and I'm going to do this talk now, and I'm sort of like all worried and whatever, and then I've touched that there, and then all those feelings that I've had in the past, or even imagined having had, you don't particularly have been very confident in the past, but you imagine it, all those feelings come, so you kind of like are just there then again. So all your things within your body change, and that's how then, if you're learning how to sort of connect, sometimes you think, okay, I've got to ground, okay, so that might take me a while. I've got to start getting into a space, and then I sort of like bring down my energies, and I sort of like, and when I'm doing it through my roots, through as though I have roots of a tree, and they're kind of expanding, and then I'm going down through to the earth star chakra, and I'm visualizing that and the energy of that sort of like vibrating, and then I finally get to kind of like a crystal, or a crystal of my choice, in the center of the earth. Now that then is there me grounded. Whereas if I were to kind of anchor myself to doing that, I could kind of like, it's a bit like, you click your fingers and you're there sort of thing. And so it's like that, but except I would have to kind of, because what you're doing, you're programming it into a certain part of your body. You kind of sometimes run out of fingers, if you know what I mean, if you can do that. But you kind of have to do something, you know, a little bit different to get you to a particular state as of feeling.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else want to ask anything? Oh, okay.
I was interested in what you said about the heart, Sue, and tuning in with what your heart, I think you said thinks about something. Is there,
Well,
do
yeah.
you have a suggested way of doing that?
Well, it's almost conversing with your heart. So there's the intellectual way where you're kind of like, you know, you ask yourself a question, you know, oh, should I do this? Or, you know, what shall I do, this or that, or whatever. And then so then you're using your brain at that point, you're thinking. And so to know then, you then can also kind of converse with your heart and kind of like learn to kind of like, okay, what does my heart say? You know, really feel into it. So it's kind of and then that's how you do that more and more often, and you're kind of like, and again, that happens quicker as you do that more often. It's kind of almost like a knowing. Your heart knows what's right. And it's a bit like also like your gut, if you think about, you know, you trust your gut rather than your head often, you know, because it's that gut feeling. I don't know whether you or of that belief really, but yeah, a lot of people kind of sort of say, you know, what do you intuit, you know, what does it, if you really think well with the gut, it's kind of what comes straight to you, and that would be, you know, either your gut or the heart, sort of like, you know, kind of it's different than your head. Your head will intellectualize it, and it will also have all your filters from your experience of life. And what I mean by filters, and an easy way to understand that is the brain will have filters. So if you think about a camera, and then they have like a sort of a filter that kind of darkens the area, for example, and then there's like, and puts another color in or whatever. You've got filters in the camera, and your shot, what you see is different to what is like, you know, if you kind of like look at it differently. So then, and then you take away the filter, which could be a belief in reality, you know, it could be belief that you can people never listen to you, or, you know, for example, that sort of thing. Once that belief has disappeared from, you know, clearing of doing some of the modalities, you then don't have that. And you can imagine then, if you think about it as a camera, you're taking that away and you start to see clearly, more clear.
So
And
would you
so,
suggest sort of focusing on your heart area?
okay. Yeah, focusing
and then
on
asking the question.
Yeah, asking the question, and then really seeing what comes up straight away, you know, rather than having time to think, oh yeah, but there's this and there's that. All that comes from the brain and the intellectual self side of things. Perhaps what you've learned, you know, I mean, what I've found is I'm kind of like unlearning quite a few bits and pieces that I thought were true that aren't. You know, sort of like, I mean, for example, the how, you know, what we really are, if you know what I mean, how powerful we are, sort of that type of thing, and what our abilities are. For example, so my previous belief would have been that you know, I'm just here and that's it, and when I die, that's it, and that sort of thing. But yeah, going back to your question, is like kind of almost, I suppose, breathe into your heart would be helpful, and then you'll have a knowing. Rather, I mean, you know, it kind of like you converse with your heart, but it kind of like responds by you knowing, or giving situations around you. It's sort of amazing ability of it, sort of beginning to learn. And there are different parts of your heart, not just being the physical heart, that and really actually whether the truth of whether actually it pumps the blood around, or the blood moves around, and there's a like magnetic field that pumps it round to the heart, and that the heart is a spiral, you know, because it's
Yeah.
people have taken, I don't know if you've heard that before.
Yes, I have. Yeah, very much of that mind. Yeah.
Yes,
you.
yeah. So you're welcome.
Thank you, Sue.
Mhm.
Thank you. That's lovely.
Yeah, I think it's the whole thing of what you were saying, Sue, is at this time we just need this kind of being, but this different way of being, don't we? Not, you know,
Yeah.
coming from our heart in everything, and connecting with everything from our heart.
Yeah.
And reminds me a bit of the talk that we heard last year in Wiltshire from that Louise Livingstone.
Yes. Yeah.
She was all about, in fact, her whole thing is called heart space or heart sense. Or
Heart
something.
sense, and actually some of what I've just spoken about there was
Yes,
from
because you're doing her
I've
course.
actually am doing, yeah. So it
And
all, you know, kind of interacts.
yeah, it was wonderful how she said, you know, don't just look at things in nature. You have to participate in them with your heart. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people would listen or read what she says and thinking, oh, she's crazy. You know, how can you talk to rocks and stones and trees? But you know, I think we know that you very much can, and you talk to them in a very different way. You know, and that, to me, that makes perfect sense. You know, that she's helping millions of people to, or thousands anyway, to put things in a very different way, and coming from that exactly with the Rahani, love and compassion and wisdom and empathy, and you know, getting rid of all those other negative emotions that we don't need all the time.
Yeah, and truth's a big one as well. I think that the truth, you know, I mean, it could be truth of who we are, but really truth of, you know, what we're seeing, you know, kind of like clearing the filters and then like really seeing.
So that's great. If anybody wanted to contact you for a healing or anything, could you put your email in the chat?
I will do. I'll put it in the chat. Yes.
So
maybe the best way is by messaging, and I'll put my phone number there. That's probably the best way.
Yes.
So that's my phone number. And I do intend to sort of set up a business, but I haven't quite got the name yet. So I'm going to
so you'll do all
with my heart.
your different your Rahani, your divine healing, your body talk and everything.
Yeah.
Together. That's great.
That's it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Much needed, particularly now, I think, in these turbulent times. Great.
Oh, it was a pleasure to speak.
Sorry?
I said it was a pleasure to speak and share what I know.
Yes, no, it's lovely. Thank you. It's really informative. Gave us lots to think about. I think that kind of whole thing of visualizing the colours and the chakras and that is really, you know, we can just do that ourselves, can't we? Every day, just think about them. And some of the things you were saying, you know, you do in your meditation, going through the
very similar, connecting with the energies and the cores that our certain chakras resonate with naturally, and then helping, as you were saying, so really connect with our own heart blueprint that knows everything about us and why we're here and what we need to do. And so what you're saying about it's important to connect with that and have that conversation is spot on. I just wondered if the lady that Carol Stacey, I think you said, who had this channel in 2004 about the new energies that were coming in, I wonder if she projected ahead to the sort of energies that we're experiencing now, this sort of solar flooding that's coming in, and kind of people who are particularly sensitive to cosmic waves are trying to handle this high frequency that's kind of coming through.
Yeah, I think the idea, is this healing is to help that, you know, to help change our bodies, because our bodies aren't, you know, or they're evolving, but they've just got to, you know, clear all the stuff so that we can sort of ascend more further up into a higher consciousness of love, you know, enlightenment.
I think this is why we've got so much turmoil on the planet at the moment, because a lot of things are coming up for cleaning.
Yes.
And so we're seeing this through quite extreme kind of things, from people falling out just with each other and domestically, right up to wars in countries. It's all coming up for this cleaning with this new vibration coming in.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for adding that. Yeah, absolutely.
And that kind of gives us hope, really, because although we could actually get really sort of disheartened and bogged down by what's going on, when you realise it's just a part of the cleansing process, you can actually look forward to a better future as we go through it eventually.
Yeah. Yes, well done, thank you.
Yeah, it is quite hopeful, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very hopeful.
Mm.
And we know these things that we can pass on to other people, even if it's just talking about it, isn't it? That they can think, oh wow, I want to know more about that.
Yeah, actually, if you yourself are, kind of raising your vibration, and again, talking about the map of consciousness, like if you are, say, even, say you're kind of linked to, there are numbers, say you're in the 300, and love is 500, and 200. 200 is courage. So there are lots of different sections. And so if you're then in say 400, you can affect like millions of people all around you and raise them. And then as you go further, you can actually even affect many more than that. It could be like 70 million, for example, and as you go up and up. So by raising yourself, you are bringing everybody with you.
Yeah.
All goosebumpy now.
Is that from that chart? Because I listened to a talk last night, and they had something like that about these numbers of 200s and 400s. I didn't quite understand where the numbers came from.
Oh, okay. Well, it's David Wilkins. He's written a book, and actually, what I'll do is I'll share that with you, because I do have that to hand. I think if we can get to it. Okay, so am I sharing now? And so see this bit on the right, it's got the map of consciousness. I'm not sure if I can do it any bigger. You can't probably see it, but you can see down here is 10, which is shame. And actually that shows guilt, funnily enough. And there's apathy, and they're all quite little, sort of like low numbers. And then there's, actually, if I make it bigger, you might be able to see it. No, not showing much bigger. So yeah, what can I see? I can see. Let's see what I've got on my phone, and I'll read it out. Best way. Photos. Okay, so shame is 20, guilt is 30, apathy is 50, grief is 75, fear is 100, desire is 125, anger is 150, pride 175, courage is 200, neutrality is 250, willingness is 310, acceptance 350, reason 400, love 500, joy 540, and peace 600, and enlightenment between 700 and 1,000. So, if you're feeling really, really low, you've got 20, and you're in shame, effectively, your energies are so close to you. So if I just stop share, that was no good. Note to self, organize it better. But yeah, It's The Map of Consciousness by David R. Hawkins. So
Lovely. I expect you can probably get it on Google or internet or something,
you
maybe.
could probably get it any, yeah, lots of places. And sometimes they show
Quite
it like this.
interesting.
Yeah,
Good, I
sometimes they
couldn't
show.
quite, yeah, I
Pardon?
didn't quite understand what the numbers were, but that's great. And maybe talking,
Yeah, I think they just call it an energetic log.
yeah, and it just makes sense without even that you know if you're in a low vibration, people around you will pick that up, won't they? Whereas if you're in a high vibration, you can send that out everywhere, really.
Yeah, and even just being in a room with somebody, you raise their vibration.
Yeah,
You know, you can,
absolutely.
you know, people can sense, just sense it, because you're higher than they, and it raises them a bit. And
Wonderful.
that's without intention. And then once
Yeah,
you've got intention, then that's even better.
Mhm. Definitely. Great. Okay. Does anybody else want to ask anything or add anything or say anything? Oh, anyway, okay, that's been really lovely and informative and super. Thank you, Sue.
Welcome.
For the group, our next meeting is in person, so unfortunately those of you who live far away won't be able to come, but we'll be at the Kite Hotel on the 14th of May. Speaker is still to be arranged, and then we'll meet on Zoom again in June. And Richard shared something. I can't see what it is.
Yeah, I just found these. One of them's from me as well. If people can get hold of them and drag them off the chat. The top one's what Sue has just told us about. Slightly bigger.
Yeah. Okay. Can't find that though. Where was it? As we were saying, they've moved everything on here. I can't find everything. Oh, it might be there. Right. Let's see. Okay. Oh yeah. I don't know if anyone wants to go into the chat. You might be able to see it. And where did you get that from then, Richard?
I just searched the internet with the David R. Hawkins, the map of consciousness. That actually, map of consciousness brings it up.
That's lovely. Thanks.
And the other one is really just talking, one that I did about the difference between density and dimension, just for the sake of interest. I have posted it in the past, but anybody that would like to look at that.
Lovely. Okay, you can put it in there. Super. Yeah. Great. That's okay, Susie. I saw your message. We'll liaise afterwards. And good. So hope everybody enjoyed the eclipse yesterday. We didn't see anything here, but I don't know if anybody tuned in and felt it. We just noticed it was a very strange. It was quite nice actually, and all the birds were very, very quiet, and we were just sending out peace and love to people, you know, so hopefully that's landed somewhere. I'm sure it has. That's great. And we can hope that this eclipse might bring some great new energy for mankind. Good. Okay, so we'll wish you all a nice rest of the day. Anybody else wants to add anything quickly or no? And I'll say thank you again to Sue. That was lovely. Very
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Sue.
Yes, thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
It was
See you all again.
it's very timely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it felt to me, yes, well, these last few days, as though somehow there's more energy around with this eclipse.
Yeah, and I think anyway, there've been with these solar flares, there's been a lot of solar flare energy, which isn't always good because I think it's affecting a lot of people in a not so good way. But I think, you know, with the eclipse, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Everything's in the sign of Aries. The eclipse was there, Chiron's there, so Venus, Mercury, there's and the North Node, the karmic pathway. So it's all about individuality, isn't it? Having the courage to tread your own path and not connect with all this rubbish that's going on, you know, and really, you know, what Sue was saying, be authentic, be who you are, find out what you're here to do and do it, you know, and have the courage to, and for healing, you know, for healing ourselves and having, well, like taking the responsibility, which I think most of us know here anyway, that we take responsibility for our own health, you know, and, just block out all this nonsense that's going on and tune in to the heart, as you were saying, and come from there.
From observation, I think there are some people who found it very energizing, and on the other hand, there's been some people that have been really, really tired around running up to this, or between these two eclipses, because it is such a strong time because of the physical effects.
Absolutely, so there's been lots of things. So we just have to take that time out and reconnect, I think. Great. Okay, I'll say goodbye.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, we can hear you, Maggie, we just can't see you.
My phone, terrible with the connections. Don't get me into. All right, I know. I've just more or less fought to try and get this phone. I'm getting the internet tomorrow, so it should be all right. It's saying recording. Then would I be able to hear all that again? You're also on my level. It just unbelievable. Richard's put up. Wonderful. How can I? Is it recording then, all that session?
Yes, we have recorded it. Margaret, are you a client of Susie?
Can you hear me?
I'll send it to Maggie.
Susie will send you the recording, and anyone else who would like it can have it, and we'll send it to some people who couldn't make it today.
All right, thanks.
Not a problem. Great. Okay then.
Okay then. Right, just certain things that
for everybody.
you do are very interesting for me, that's all.
Yeah. Great.
We're hitting the spot then, that's good.
Yeah. Very much so.
Right, thanks again, so.
Yeah.
Brilliant.